proud citizens of Republic of Armenia, proud citizens of Artsakh Republic, proud members of the diaspora. It's been 18 days already that the terrorist war started by Turkey and Azerbaijan against Artsakh continues. Before talking about the situation on the front lines, I would like to emphasize that it is extremely important for us to understand the military political situation that has been created, and for that we need to understand the reasons and the conditions for this war. In the Karabakh issue negotiation process, Azerbaijan step by step reached a point where they demanded that the Armenians and the people of Karabakh rejected their own rights. And they demanded that 5 of the 7 regions were supposed to be returned to Azerbaijan and present a timetable for giving the other 2 regions, and also agree to any status of Karabakh being within Azerbaijan. And the decision on the status of Karabakh was not supposed to be tied to any regions. So the regions were supposed to be given in return for peace and not for status. Otherwise, Azerbaijan was threatening to solve the issue by war. Our government that received this basis of the negotiations as a heritage or a final stage of the negotiations, essentially rejected the idea of discussing the issue in such a way because that was unacceptable. In these conditions, where we clearly tried to state that without certainty of the status of Artsakh, it's impossible to address the issue, Azerbaijan rejected any serious discussion of the status, saying that the only status that Artsakh can be is an autonomy, something autonomous within Azerbaijan. And they're laying foundations for getting rid of all Armenians in Karabakh. At the same time, Azerbaijan developed anti-Armenian propaganda and bellicose statements. In the last 2.5 years, we carried out reforms and modernization in our army, trying to create real conditions for the provision for the premise that Karabakh issue does not have a military solution. The winning battles in Tavush in June proved to many something that was unexpected, that Azerbaijan is unable to solve the Karabakh issue by force. And this fact had a big effect not only on Azerbaijan, but on a number of countries, and first of all, Turkey, especially immediately after the June battles. Unprecedented military exercises started with participation of Turkey and Azerbaijan, and a big amount of military equipment was moved from Turkey to Azerbaijan. During the military exercise, they understood yet again that the Azerbaijani army is unable to solve any problems in the near future, and Turkey decided that they should deal with the Karabakh issue themselves. And something unprecedented happened. Turkey started threatening Armenia openly and publicly. At the same time, they moved a big number of mercenaries from Syria to the Karabakh conflict zone, understanding that the forces of the Azerbaijani army alone are not going to be enough to solve the problem. In this situation, we tried to enforce the mechanism for military restraints, because if Turkey achieved its goals in Southern Caucasus, it would inevitably cause a chain reaction of events, and regional and countries and countries from outside the region who will become the object of this instability will have to take measures for military restraint. But at the same time, at this stage, something strange happened. A number of countries who had the ability to restrain the military developments did not understand the real threat, and they continued to consider the issue in the context of Karabakh conflict, and they also considered that territories for peace is the only formula that can solve the problem. This is unacceptable to us, and it's very similar to the 1938 Munich Agreement, where supposedly for peace a number of European countries gave Czechoslovakia to Germany. And what happened afterwards, you all know. So the question is the following. Is the world going to allow the development of a new Hitler in Asia Minor? The war against Artsakh started in a way that was not unexpected for us. We knew, and we expected. The question was when specifically and from where the enemy would attack. The Defense Army of Artsakh has been heroic from the first moment. The Turkish-Azerbaijani terrorist alliance with the mercenaries attacked very strongly with tanks, with military equipment, with helicopters, with many different types of UAVs, and with a lot of manpower, including several thousand special mercenaries from Turkey, and according to some information from Pakistan, and also mercenaries and terrorists from Syria. The enemy during the first week had no strategic or territorial success. Even if they didn't have any limitation on supplies or on manpower, and Artsakh and Armenia acted essentially in a blockade. The adversary lost a huge amount of equipment and they lost many people, but part of the victims were the mercenaries, and Azerbaijan did not take that very seriously, but every drop of blood that we lose gives us a lot of sorrow. On Friday, last Friday, in Moscow, a statement was adopted, and our participation in that process was aimed at reducing the number of casualties. And the agreement was to have a humanitarian ceasefire, to exchange prisoners of war and dead bodies, and to return the negotiating table to address the issue as quickly as possible in the same format. But Azerbaijan did not keep the ceasefire at all, and they continue to attack. At the same time, they create obstacles for creating a monitoring mechanism for ceasefire, which means that Azerbaijan continues to be committed to its political goal, which is complete occupation of Nagorno-Karabakh. At the same time, we can say that the preliminary plan, Turkish-Azerbaijani plan of Blitzkrieg, has failed because of the heroic generals, officers, soldiers, volunteers, militia, because of our public administration system in Artsakh and Republic of Artsakh and Armenia. Leadership, national assemblies, central and local government bodies, and their joint efforts. At the same time, during this time, we had many losses. We have many victims, and I mourn these heroes, brave heroes who protected their fatherland with their life. They protected the right of the people to live. They protected our identity, our dignity, and our future. And I bow my head before all the victims, their families, their parents, and especially their mothers. I consider their loss to be my loss, my personal loss, my family's loss. Dear people, proud citizens of Republic of Armenia, proud citizens of Republic of Artsakh, proud members of the diaspora. During the 18 days of war, our heroic forces have made certain retreats in the northern and southern parts of the front line. In the last few days, the enemy changed its tactics, trying to create confusion using subversive groups. The Defense Army of Artsakh controls the situation, the general situation, and has caused significant damage to the enemy, even though they incurred themselves certain damage. But we need to understand, all of us need to understand that the situation is quite difficult. But I'm not saying this because I want anyone to be hopeless. I feel that I am responsible to tell you the truth. Unlike Azerbaijan, who is still hiding its losses and the loss of about 1 billion worth of military equipment. The main purpose of my address today is to talk about what we need to do and to encourage national consolidation. So we need to state that the Turkish-Azerbaijani terroristic alliance is not going to stop attacking Artsakh and Armenia by itself. The co-chairpersons of the Minsk group, Russia, France, and the United States, have made efforts to achieve ceasefire. The presidents of the three countries and the ministries of foreign affairs of the three countries issued a statement. There was a statement in Moscow on October 10. I would like to thank the OSCE Minsk Group co-chairperson countries for their efforts. I would like to thank the U.S. administration for all the efforts that they have made and for the future efforts. I thank France and President Emmanuel Macron for calling things by their names from the very first day of the war and for the commitment to take future action. Special thanks to the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, with whom we've been in intensive contact during these days. In these days, Russia has been able to play its role of the OSCE Minsk Group co-chair and Armenian strategic partner to the highest level. And I'm sure this cooperation will continue in the best traditions of friendship between Armenian and Russian people. We are committed to the peaceful settlement of Karabakh issue, and we're going to be extremely constructive in making diplomatic efforts successful. However, these efforts have not been enough or sufficient to stop the Turkish-Azerbaijani terrorist alliance, because their goal is not only to solve the problem of Karabakh, but to carry out the traditional or continue the traditional genocidal policy of Turkey against Armenia. But it's not going to break us, because the fatal war for our people, it's a decisive war for our people. The Armenian people has to consolidate all of its potential to stop the enemy with a decisive response and to achieve a victory which is a final solution of the Nagorno-Karabakh issue, and recognition of the right to self-determination.
Aram Manukյանի, Հովանես Բաղրամյանի, Մոնթե Մելքոնյանի, Վազգեն Սարգսյանի, մեր մյուս նահատակների եւ հերոսների հոգիները
The spirits of our great ancestors are with us today.
Այսօր հայությունը համախմբված է քան երբևէ.
The Armenians are more united than ever today. Hundreds of thousands of Armenians has provided financial, information, political, and other type of support to Armenia and Artsakh. Hundreds of diaspora communities have organized many peaceful demonstrations of support, with two main issues in focus: international recognition of Artsakh and the condemnation of Turkish-Azerbaijani aggression. This is the culmination of our national unity, and this culmination has to end with the implementation of our national goals. You cannot break the Armenian people. You cannot scare the Armenian people. You cannot win the Armenian people. We're going to stand until the end. We're going to fight to the end. And the end is a free and happy Artsakh and free and happy Armenia. Today, right now, at this decisive moment, every single one of us has to focus on solving this issue. Artsakh Army, soldiers, frontline. Artsakh Army, soldiers, frontline. This should be the focus of all of our efforts in Armenia and in diaspora. We should turn our mourning into anger. We have to turn our concerns into decisiveness. We need to turn our doubts into action. We have to win. We have to live. We have to create our history. And we are creating our history. The new epos, the new heroic fight, the new Sardarapat. Long live freedom, long live Republic of Armenia, long live Republic of Artsakh, long live Armenian Army, long live Armenian volunteers, long live Armenian diaspora, long live Armenian people, and long live our children who will live in a free and happy Armenia and free and happy Artsakh. Glory to the heroes.